Let's start off with the fact that Daniel Kaluuya completely dubbed this movie. I feel two ways about it because I feel like, what was this character going to do in the movie anyway? Be in jail the whole time? But the fact that he just said, "Nah, I'm going to do Nope instead of Black Panther 2." That's, I mean,
well, but also though that's a main role, like a starring role in Nope, as opposed to the 5 minutes of screen time he probably would have gotten in Wakanda with Okoye telling him, "I am no longer your wife."
Yeah.
Probably, most likely.
But there's got to be something to publicly stating like, "Yeah, I didn't even go to that shit."
Yeah. So I think he chalked it up mostly to the scheduling conflict, right? Because of Nope, which makes sense, right? Even if the pay is better at Marvel, the exposure of being the lead in this movie is worth more, I feel like.
Yep.
But I mean, let's not get around the obvious now. Let's talk about it. Like there was a loss, obviously. Oddly enough, he's never been one of the, in terms of the cast and crew, he's never been one of those to try and over accentuate his relationship with Chadwick.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's never put a whole bunch of extra on it. Oh, that was my brother, best friend, blah blah blah. You know.
Yeah. Obviously,
very solemn and hurt over the loss, but not so much that he's trying to make you think that they were something that they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And it just with everything that we're hearing about this movie, you can't help but ask if the direction of the film played a role and why he didn't return. We'll never know unless he tells us. So, it'll remain speculation for now. But these damn plot leaks, boy.
Yeah, quite a few plot leaks, including, that T'Challa is going to pass of some sort of disease, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, okay. So let's start with the comic book part of it, right? T'Challa is not dying from cancer while he has the heart-shaped herb running through his veins. It's not happening. It doesn't work. They are literally retconning the strength of the heart-shaped herb, and by extension, retconning the strength of the power set of Black Panther, to the point that now the most technologically advanced city on the planet that was able to save Everett Ross from a bullet wound to the spine somehow is not able to heal its king, or at least even prolong his life. Because again, think about what we're talking about here. We're talking about 2023 is what it was at the end of Endgame. T'Challa, Shuri, Ramunda, all sitting there fine, looking over the capital city of Wakanda, alive and well. So now I believe we've caught up to current day. The furthest we've gotten is about like 6 to 8 months after the return. We're talking 2024 at most. 2024.
Yeah.
They weren't able to prolong his life for a year. What kind of cancer is that? Since it's such a deadly form of cancer, right? It's such a mutated form of cancer that it's going to overtake the heart-shaped herb that's flowing through T'Challa's body. So then that means someone else is getting got too, right? Somebody else is going to die. Maybe that's how Ramunda dies. Because the plot leaks also said that Shuri's mother dies. What is it about the black characters in Marvel that makes them so disposable? No, don't get in here and tell me that Marvel is not this and they're not that and it's not their fault about the way of the world. That was the craziest thing I've seen. The way of the world is not their fault and all this other stuff. Don't tell me that. We don't even have to talk about that. Let's talk about their impact and what they do. We put out a video last week and we went through this entire phase of black characters. At least half of them are already dead. They didn't even make it out of the phase. And now we're entering into a film and a franchise that previously posted up 1.3 billion, which is an outpaced not just of anything in this phase by far, but any other solo Marvel film since they started. Was a whole cultural moment, right? Was a signal to black people everywhere that we are not what they represent us to be, right? We can be a part of this as well, right? And it was a moment. And honestly, it was probably the biggest point, the biggest part in why we ended up where we are. The cancer part of the narrative is probably the worst thing with me.
Because there's no reason that what happens in the movie has to imitate what happened in real life.
Sure. So that's the comic book part of it. And then let's talk about the real life part of it, right? Knock on wood. Who of you, in the event of your untimely passing, would like your employer, whoever you're working for today, whether you like your job or you don't, would like your employer to be responsible for putting together your funeral? Who would like for their current job, boss, co-workers, CEO of the company that you work for, what have you, it don't even have to be the funeral. They hold a service for you.
A very public service.
A very public service that they are then going to sell tickets for. They're going to sell your funeral, sell coverage of your funeral to the world for profit. Who of you would like that to happen?
And even furthermore, not even acknowledge your family's thoughts or wishes.
In the least bit. Has never even mentioned the Boseman family in any communication we have ever gotten about Chadwick in relation to this movie. Has not even referenced them. Not one time. That's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. So again, I'm asking you, in the event of your untimely passing, are you telling your coworkers and boss that you want them to live stream your funeral for money? What if it's not a live stream? Okay, cool. We just record it, right? And then, we go back, we put some edits on it, and we kind of make it part of a story, right? And we're going to do it to honor you, though. It's going to be very tasteful. We're just going to work your funeral into the movie, into the tribute, because killing your likeness off in a story is honorable, especially when we liken that killing back to your actual death. For the crowd of people out there that is still clinging on to the idea that none of this, we're not blaming Marvel for this. We're not, we understand that they're doing their best. This is not their best at all. If any of this is true, right? This is somebody on the internet that posted this shit. This could be a Marvel employee that's disgruntled, or it could be some bum in his basement thinking stuff up. It could be fan fiction, for all we know. And then that is worth saying.
Yes.
However, if this is true, there's no room for well intentions, because the well intentions of everybody involved with this decision has led us so far into this that we are now accepting a Chadwick Boseman funeral for Black Panther 2. And you're going to make people pay for it. That is essentially where we're at. So you can have the opinion that Marvel and Kevin Feige and Nate Moore and Ryan Coogler, they're doing their best, and I don't believe that they did any of this with malintentions. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. I'm telling you, at the point that we are approaching, it no longer matters. Intentions mattered when the petition first started. That's when intentions mattered, because when you could have showed well intentions anywhere in the last 2 years. Where you could have solidified your well intentions to the fan base anytime in the last 2 years. You know what they've chosen to do? Hide behind Chadwick Boseman's death. Anytime they've been asked about this movie, they throw Chadwick up in front of us first. Any question that anybody involved with this production, right? And that is the eerily consistent thing that I've seen out of the Black Panther production, because it surely hasn't been a synopsis or anything that gets you excited for the movie. But the one consistent thing we've got out of every cast member that we've heard spoken, every producer, director, what have you, has a way of throwing up a Chadwick shield and referencing his passing, and then when they're done with their soliloquy, you don't have any more information about the movie than when you started with. So again, if you still believe that it's all well intentioned, that's your opinion, right? But it doesn't matter anymore, because where we are is T'Challa dead, experiencing the same death that the real life actor experienced. And then you have Marvel and Disney's hands out raking in the cash as you're witnessing that. Who else's culture would that be acceptable in?
You know what that is? That's similar to what we said about the posthumous releases, the album releases. It's even though you have passed on, you still can't rest. We're still going to use you as a shield. We're still going to use you to get money from it. So even though you're supposed to be resting, we're still putting you to work.
Again, I feel you through the camera clutching your pearls. I feel it. I feel it. But when you really boil it down to brass tacks, right? What other explanation is there for it? You can like these people all you want, but at the end of the day, they are creating a movie, allegedly. They are creating a movie where they write in the person who actually died's death into the plot. This didn't, for all of you, this happened in the comic book people. This did not happen. T'Challa never caught cancer. No one in Wakanda ever got cancer. No one. He didn't get cancer. This did not happen in the comics. This is not how Shuri assumed the Black Panther mantle. Moving on. So you remember when I was talking in the Miss Marvel episode 6 review, when I talked about how Bruno essentially discovers the X gene or the genetic mutation in Kamala Khan's makeup, and how that's going to compare to what we see from Shuri and Riri Williams in Wakanda Forever.
Yes,
some people are going
because Bruno is a genius
out of nowhere, and he again, this is a high school kid. He's like 17 years old. So if he's that smart, and Shuri's one of the smartest people in the MCU, top 2. But according to this leak, Riri Williams, student of MIT, the leak says that her first suit is going to be made out of cars. It's going to be a freaking transformer.
Yeah. It's going to be Bumblebee.
Again, I hope it's not true. I hope it's not. If you're interested at all into Riri Williams' canon, she does create her own suit, at home. Or no, she does it at MIT. She does it at MIT. So how she would be putting together a junkyard dog version of an Iron Man suit inside of MIT, I don't know. It certainly looks a lot better than a car version of the Iron Man suit in the comic books, at least even for her first suit. But again, not nearly as bad as giving the main character of this title franchise cancer. Munda reportedly is supposed to die at some point. Shuri creates a synthetic heart-shaped herb that gets her to her heaven, that takes her to the Panther ancestral plane.
No precedence whatsoever for that.
How fast and loose are we going to play with this canon? Like, there's the science and magic part of the MCU, but then there's also this need for them to delve themselves into religion. Well, if you're going to do that, you should at least have some level of consistency, or at very least show a certain level of reverence to not delve into people's faith. But between Thor: Love and Thunder and Shuri creating a back door into heaven, I don't. What are we doing here? What the hell is going on? And then it seems like we may get a Michael B. Jordan sighting on the ancestral plane, because you know who can be in the ancestral plane? A man who tried to take over Wakanda and murder, across the world.
Yeah.
You know who can't?
T'Challa.
That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting to see how they, if that's what it is, how do you explain that? Why is Killmonger here and T'Challa's not? And then if he's not on the ancestral plane, is that your back door to bringing in another, or bringing this T'Challa back? The fact that, well, he's not on the ancestral plane. Well, if he's not there, then that means he's not dead. So how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with the fact that the character is retired forever, so we're not going to see him even on his ancestral plane? Even though we just got to see Jane go to heaven. I don't... my God. But, so we're never going to see him there. So then is he dead, actually? Maybe that's the nugget. Maybe.
And then Black Panther 3 comes and we get a recast?
No, probably not. Well, by Black Panther 3, I think things will be very different. Now, I don't know if they put that nugget in, though. I don't know. I don't know if they would go through all of this work to kill him off just to leave the patio door open for him to come back. Because if that's the case, then you don't have to do anything this final.
Yeah.
And Baku being king, if it's just King and not Black Panther, I'm not gonna lose my head over that. I think it is it's ironic that they're trying to honor the actor and the character, and they're ascending his literal mortal enemy in the comic books to the throne. But okay, it would be like, in honor of Clark Kent, we're going to make Lex Luthor president after he dies.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense, but that's not the worst thing.
But yeah, no, that's far from the worst thing. If cancer for T'Challa is 1A, then 1B is Nakia having a son by T'Challa. And him never... Like, I am so confused by this proposed storyline. Okay, so, end of 2023, T'Challa's alive and well. I'm assuming that's when Nakia gets pregnant by T'Challa, right? Or maybe, yeah, it would have to have been because he was snapped away before that. So that's when they got pregnant. But then sometime shortly after he dies, unless she's going to be visibly pregnant in this movie, which, I mean, it doesn't appear that way. Is she still pregnant now, or does she already have the child? And if she already had the child, then that baby would have to be like a baby, baby. Unless you're trying to say that it happened post-snap, like she got pregnant post-snap and hid the baby for 5 years, and then he came back and then died.
Which is way more dramatic than that would even need to be.
So then, pre-snap, she gets pregnant. T'Challa gets snapped away, and he's, okay, so now the baby's a bastard already, fatherless child. And then he comes back briefly now, because there's only a short amount of time in between the blip and where T'Challa dies. Apparently, it's a very aggressive cancer. Why? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Your story doesn't make sense. Plus, nobody wants it, and it sounds like shit. Why is this happening?
And I just feel like that leaves for plot holes that we don't even see right now, but wide, gaping plot holes.
Okay, so that, again, that's the canonical problem. Y'all remember last week when I told y'all to ask for more? This is what I mean. It cannot be the perpetual existence of black children in this country to see themselves as parentless, fatherless to be more specific, but without one of their parents. First of all, if you've ever experienced anything like that, it is a traumatic experience, to say the least. It causes you to question your self-identity, right? Not having that piece of your history or your lineage. And so now you want to internalize that for an entire generation of kids. That's just the kids. What about us, the grown adults, that's just fucking sick and tired of seeing that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again? And then I get people who line up to defend the creators as if they're not the ones responsible, As if even now, to the point where we're able to get black creators on some of these big productions and some of these big studios, we are still being drowned by tropes. Why? And then who are you going to ask why to? This can't all be Kevin Feige's fault. This can't be all be. First of all, Kevin Feige didn't write any of this.
Yeah.
If this is true, allegedly. Kevin Feige ain't wrote a word of this. So why y'all falling down on the altar defending Ryan Coogler from criticism? If any of this stuff is true, he's the one that put pen to paper.
And took 6 scripts to get here.
Who else would you criticize? And then again, I'm going to keep saying it. If you run through the man's catalog, he seems very handicapped by the idea of his characters perishing. What is the mental block that keeps you on that? I don't understand it. You too creative of a writer, or maybe you're not. But that's a question that's fair to ask. That's a criticism that's fair to levy.
Yeah. Yeah, death can't be your main go-to plot device for literally everything. That's not indicative of real life.
So we're more than likely going to get at least a teaser for Wakanda Forever. What do you expect to see next week?
It's I would almost hope that it's mostly Namor focused, just because how are you going to sell this movie with, the characters that are not there at this point? You got to focus it on the characters that are showing up. So it's going to probably be mostly Namor focused, I would think.
One miscalculation I think that they've made in the marketing is to not give us anything about the story going in, because at least then we can begin to wrap our heads around the fact of, T'Challa not being there. With that, now, since they've avoided it for so long, they can't not talk about it in the movie. I don't think they'll reveal too much about the hows and the whys, but the fact that he is not there almost has to be present in the trailer somehow, some way.
But how?
But how is how they confirm that he's not there.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're going to have to acknowledge that he's dying in some real way. Mm-hmm. And there's no way for them to do that without them marketing his death. I'm sorry. For those who are still holding out hope that wasn't going to be the route that they go. They don't have any other options at this point.
Yeah.
Namor attacking Wakanda. Oh, why? And why is Shuri and a bunch of people running out to meet him? I think we better prepare ourselves for a trailer where they are promoting the very thing that we did not want them to do and have been predicting them to do for months now, and that is to show you that the king is dead and that Wakanda is in shambles and that they need a new group of heroes to come along and save the day, and that's how they're going to roll with the marketing of this movie. And they don't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
So why would you then have a level of defense at all for that person or that entity, that company? A lot going on, man. What do you guys think about San Diego Comic-Con with Black Panther coming up next week? Most likely going to get a trailer. What are your thoughts? Make sure you let us know in the comments below. Also, like, share, and subscribe.
And make sure you check out our Recast T'Challa playlist where we discuss everything going on with Black Panther 2 and the Recast T'Challa movement. And make sure you subscribe for more. We like to talk about Recast and more Marvel news.